40K has gotten massive, and if you're struggling where to start when you're building your army or creating a new army list with a new codex, hence Orcs just released, this video is for you. I'm going to clarify everything, and I'm going to get rid of your confusion when you're either starting in the hobby or starting to build a new list with new codexes. Now, for the purposes of this video, I am going to be utilizing the Orc Codex as an example because it's the most recent one, but everything I'm saying in this video will apply to every single codex that's going to be released in this edition. Guys, I'm Doc Crump. I'm a top 100 player, and I am a professional Warhammer 40K coach. I've taken a bunch of students to be going and winning majors, making it to their WTC teams. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to bring this information to you guys for free. So let's get right on into it. Let's talk about some of the options that have happened in 11th edition that we didn't really have to worry about in 10th edition because we just didn't have anywhere near as many options. These things are absolutely wild. Let's use the Orc Codex as an example. What we can pretty much expect is that this generally will be true for the other codexes that are going to release as well. And by the way, I don't have a deal with Games Workshop, so I don't have the pre-access to the codex. I'm utilizing the exact same information that everyone else is that has been released by the other content creators who do have deals with Games Workshop. Although Games Workshop, if you're watching, you should contact me and give me a deal because I love you guys and I love what you're doing. All right, so let's talk about the Orc Codex. We have 14 1DP detachments and 1 3DP detachment, which would be the Warhorde. This is a lot of combinations right off the bat. 10th edition, you had 6 options, right? Generally, you had 6 options, and then suddenly, like with the Grotmus releases, maybe you would have 7 options, more options than that. But when you do the math on this, guys, this isn't even in the same ballpark as many options for like army composition. Let's just quickly run the math on it. And I've got the numbers there that some nerd did for me. And guys, you have 365 potential combinations of your 1DPs and different dispositions that you could be running. That is insane. That means just from the Orc Codex, we're not talking about any of the downloadables, which will happen over the course of the edition. You will have the ability to play a different disposition slash detachment every single day for a year. You can play it before you will actually have played them all. That's completely nonsensical. In addition to that, if you want to start talking about map choices, like, all right, how do we play these detachments in these dispositions? We got 365 different combinations. Well, you have 15 different potential maps that you could be playing on. The actual combinations of how to plan an army is well in the thousands. It is a ludicrous concept to think that we are ever going to be able to play them all, or that we will ever actually have full knowledge of our opponent's armies either. Now, that's a little bit of a side. That's a different video. But remember, my whole thing is don't worry about your opponent's army. Worry about your army. Understand your army at a high level. Back to this video, though. All right, so the combinations are legion, and it's very intimidating of where to start. So do we start with our detachments? Do we start with our crazy unit combinations? Because being able to mix all these detachments, we get the ability to make super customized units for us, which are really, really sick in maybe one specific detachment combination. So if we want to run that unit, is that where we start when we're building our army? Where do we do it? Well, I have an answer for you, and it really does simplify things quite a lot. Just start with dispositions, guys. Just start with the dispositions. Your disposition, which is your primary scoring, is the single largest factor in how you're going to be constructing your army list and how you're going to be playing the game, because this is what is going to define how you will be scoring. So we've got 5 different options. You've got Purge, Foe, Disruption, Take and Hold, Priority Assets, and Reconnaissance. And if you're not certain what all these are, most of you probably do, but if you're not, just really quickly, Purge the Foe, you're basically getting points for killing stuff and for holding objectives. Disruption, you're doing actions, and occasionally you're killing some things. Take and Hold, you're getting points for standing on objectives, and that's about it. Priority Assets, you're standing on objectives and you're doing actions. And then Reconnaissance, you're doing actions and you're just trying to be everywhere on the board. So depending on your playstyle, you'll just choose the disposition that you want to play. Then what we're going to do is we are going to go through our codex. For right now, I'm going to use Orcs as the example as we go through it today. And when Space Marines comes out, we'll do it with Space Marines. Whenever whatever comes out, we'll go with whatever. First off, identify how you want to play. The disposition is what determines how you will play. Then we can figure out which detachments we want to be running, because the detachment is what's going to give us the disposition. After we have identified which detachments we have to take in order to get the dispositions, then we can start talking about unit counts. So let's kind of do this together. Now, I can't show the images, so I'm just going to have to, you're just going to have to like follow along on audio a little bit here. But My personal favorite disposition is take and hold. I like playing take and hold. It's how I got the second highest scorer in the world at the World Championships a few weeks ago. Because it's just a way that suits my playstyle. I like take and hold. I loved it in 10th edition, which was effectively take and hold. I love it right now. That's how I'm going to play. So that's how I'm going to teach off of this video. But you're going to go through the exact same process if you're running Purge, if you're running Priority, if you're running Reconnaissance. So first thing I do when I take a look at the new Orc Codex is I take a look and I'm like, okay, which dispositions are available to me in which detachments? If I want to play take and hold, I only have four options in the new Orc Codex. So Warhorde, which is the 3 DP detachment, can either be run as take and hold or as Purge the Foe, which is pretty cool. And all this information is from Goonhammer, and it's from Art of War, and it's from all the guys who have direct pre-release information from GW. So that's all where all this comes from. Now, what Warhorde's going to be doing is Warhorde is a fantastic detachment. And so what we'll do is I've identified that it's Warhorde, Green Tide, Tactical Brigade, and Blitz Brigade are the 4 ways for me to get my take and hold. So now I'm going to read through these detachments, see which one I like the most, and that will help me determine how my army is going to be built. Make sense? Makes sense. So start with Warhorde. Warhorde gives me sustained hits on effectively the entire army. What this tells me right off the bat is, hey, my army's going to hit harder in melee. Well, I'm a melee player. I'm a melee pressure player. It's what I'm fairly well known for. I probably like that. And I do. It's right. Then what we'll do is we'll quickly just run through the enhancements. Well, the enhancements are cool. So I have Ed Wappa's Kill Choppa, which is you put it on an Orc's model, and when this unit makes the charge move, you get +1 AP. Actually quite a strong enhancement, especially when you start considering what Orc units that we can actually put this on. I can put this on a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, who has some extra attacks. That means he's getting extra bonuses from being able to give that +1 AP to all of his extra attacks as well. We have a War Boss in Mega Armor, who has Cleave 2 on his profile. So that means whenever he's going to units that have, like, say, 10 models in the unit, suddenly he's getting more attacks to then take benefit of this bonus AP. So this is a very good enhancement, and it works really well on a variety of different Orc models. Death Killer Wartrike absolutely loves it. Even a humble War Boss with his +3 attacks on the charge probably loves this enhancement. All right. Next enhancement, we go, Da Boss is Watching. Works model only, once per battle per army. In your movement phase, you can use this ability. If you do, this unit, means it's going to apply the whole unit, is now riled up until the start of your turn. That's pretty awesome, right? Because now you can just make any unit in your army riled up. This is obviously a very good enhancement, and I like it. So far, Warhorde has great detachment roll, and it's got 2 really good enhancements. By the way, I really like this enhancement on a big mech unit, because now now your War Bosses can be riling up other things in your army, while the big mech is riling up his own unit when he really, really needs to. All right, what are the other enhancements in this detachment? We've got Cunning but Brutal, which is fall back, shoot, and charge. Sick. It's a great enhancement. We love it. And then finally, we have the return of Follow Me Lads, which was the best enhancement in the Orcs Codex from last edition, which gave the entire unit +2 to move. Still super powerful. We absolutely adore this enhancement. All right, all the enhancements rock Warhorde, and the detachment rule is great. So right now, I'm like, if I want to play Take and Hold, this might be one that I could run. Well, let's quickly go through some of these stratagems. We've got Break and Eds, which is any phase when a friendly attached Orc's infantry unit becomes battle shocked, just take D3 mortal wounds, and then suddenly you're not battle shocked. This might be one of the best stratagems in the entire game. It's any phase. It's not limited to the command phase. It's not limited to the movement phase. It doesn't matter when your Tyranids player wants to battle shock you. Let's say they have a Shadow on the Warp turn and they annihilate you. Well, you were battle shocked, but for whatever reason, we can still use this stratagem because of the wording on that unit. And now you're no longer battle shocked, and your Tyranids player is sad that their army roll just didn't function. This is an incredibly powerful stratagem. It's really, really good, especially on an Orcs army where we tend to have lower leadership. And it can be used on any Orcs infantry, meaning you don't need to be led by a character, so that you can kind of not have to worry about having your leadership 6 everywhere, and you could just live on your leadership 7. It's also not limited once per game like normal auto pass is. Very powerful strat. We love it. Hit them harder for 1 CP. Any Orcs unit gets lethal hits in the fight phase. That's a great combat buff for 1 CP. And it's not limited. You can use it on any Orcs unit. Very good. 1 CP for Orcs is never beaten. It's a 4-up fight on death. Now, I personally miss the 2 CP auto fight on death that we had in 10th edition, but this is 11th edition. It's a new edition. We have a 1 CP for a 4-up fight on death. Super strong. Very good stratagem. 3 more. We have Mow 'em Down, which is a weird one. You can give a non-walker Orcs vehicle unit, which effectively is just going to be your battle wagon and your gun wagon. And you can give them Cleave 1, and every attack that already has Cleave gets +1 Cleave. And if you look at those units profiles, it's actually really good on them. So It's niche, but it can be used really, really well if you're running the wagons. Then we have Fungus Fuel Injection, which just gives any orcs mounted or vehicle unit +2 to move. That's super, super strong for 1 CP, +2 to move. Boom, booyah. Now I can have my Stompa going base 12 with re-rolling advances because that's what the orcs does. It's a very, very strong stratagem. And then the last stratagem is Close Range Daka, which you just give any orcs unit rapid fire 1. And if they already have rapid fire, it goes up a level in rapid fire. This is incredible on things like your flash kits. So, all right, so Warhorde right off the rip, great detachment rule, incredibly good enhancements, and very strong strats. If I want Take and Hold, this is a very viable option. Let's talk about the Green Tide, though. The Green Tide is a 1 DP detachment, which means now I can get customizable. Because the thing about Warhorde is it is 3 DP, meaning that's what you're running. But we can get customizable about it. So let's talk about the Green Tide. Green Tide gives you sustained hits on boys units, and it gives you lethal hits for Orcs infantry units when they charge against non-monsters and vehicles, which is not quite as useful as it might sound, because most of your Orcs units are going to be wounding pretty much all infantry in the game on 3s, 2s, things like this. So do you really need lethal hits on them since it doesn't apply to monsters or vehicles? I don't know. It's okay. If you're running a lot of boys, though, obviously sustained hits on boys is good. 2 enhancements for us to show off. For 8 Orcs infantry model, you can give them +1 attack, or if their unit has 11 plus models, +2 attacks. Probably not an enhancement I'm ever going to take because it doesn't really matter. Then we have our boys, which is an upgrade, where you can give your boys unit a 4-up armor save. Now, if this is appropriately costed, meaning like maybe 10 points, this might be something I take. But from everything that has been revealed, it looks like this is going to cost roughly 25 points, which means it's an upgrade that I will never use. Then we have 3 stratagems. One will be Unbridled Carnage. A boys unit can have +1 attack. Very strong. Mob Mentality for 1 CP. Select 1 Orcs infantry unit with 13 plus models. And then you can select 1 visible friendly Orcs unit within 12 inches. That unit's battle shock rolls are automatically successful. Okay, so. And this can only be used in the start of the battle shock step of your command phase. So it kind of does what that unbattle shock stratagem in Warhorde does, but just way worse. And then lastly, for 1 CP, we have Here We Go, where you can give Beast Nagas or boys +2 to advance. But in Warhorde, I can just give +2 to move to any vehicle or mounted. Honestly, right now, if I wanted to run this detachment as my take and hold, the reality is it's only going to happen if I'm running a lot of boys, which I personally am probably not doing at the beginning of this edition, because I'm going to be running something that's very, very different than what I did in 10th edition. And I don't really think that the boys are particularly good right now, so I'm going to pass on this one. So that's how I run through it, though. I read the detachment rule, I read the strats, I read the enhancements, I go, okay, all these suck. Right now, if I want to play Take and Hold, it's going to be Warhorde. So now let's look at Tactical Brigade. Maybe Tactical Brigade will have something else for us that could be very, very interesting. Well, Tactical Brigade is a little more interesting, in my opinion. It gives friendly Storm Boys units a battle line, and then it gives friendly Boys Commandos and Storm Boys units, when they're selected to make a fallback move, that fallback move does not prevent them from being eligible to declare a charge, which is quite cool. Okay. Fallback and charge is useful. It's not really on the units that I would desperately want it on, but it's useful. Then we have Big Mech, or Warboss infantry model only. While this model is part of an attached unit, they can have infiltrators and stealth, and they can attach 2 commandos. This is kind of a cool option. Let me tell you one pretty nifty little combination. I can take a Warboss in Mega Armor, and I can have him lead a 10-man unit of commandos. Now, the Warboss in Mega Armor, turn 1, can infiltrate with them, and he can rile up his unit, which is really interesting because now that unit can advance and charge in turn 1, and the Warboss in Mega Armor's ability says that when his unit completes a charge, you roll 1d6 for every model in the unit, and every 4-up, or might even be 3-up if I remember correctly, will be a mortal wound, which is very, very interesting, meaning you're rolling 11 dice. That could be a significant mortal wound shock very early in the game against foes that really are not prepared for it. Now, this is an incredibly expensive combo because you're going to have to pay for the enhancement. The Warboss Mega Armor is 125. The Commandos are 125. You're probably spending, and I got to imagine it's going to be 270-ish in order to do this. So I'm not sure you want to do that, but it is quite interesting, and it does cause a lot of damage turn 1 if you go first. And if you go second, that Commando Squad does have the ability to fall back and charge, which is kind of neat. So really not actually that bad. It's a pretty interesting little combination. And then you have the second enhancement, which is going to be the super. No, sorry, pardon me. That was on the wrong one, which is going to be the throat sliters, which gives lethal hits against non-monsters vehicles to your commandos and your storm boys. I'm literally never going to take this ever, so it is what it is. All right, we got 3 stratagems. 1, dubious restraint. Select one objective that your unit is controlling, and that objective is secured. And this can be used either at the start or the end of a movement phase, which is powerful, on boys, commandos, or storm boys. Now, this is interesting, but the reality is my Gretchen already have objective secured, so I'm probably never going to use this stratagem anyway. Then we have Mind Mostly on the Mission. Your movement phase, while a friendly boys, commando, storm boys unit is selected to make an advance or a fallback move, that move does not prevent your unit from being eligible to start an action. Now, this is where things get a little weird, because the reality is this is a good stratagem, but I'm trying to play Take and Hold, which requires no actions to be done. So why would I ever utilize this stratagem? Maybe it'll happen once out of every 15 games because I want to fall back into a cleanse, but your boys can already do actions while they're engaged. So it's a very, very bizarre stratagem to give this detachment that is giving you Take and Hold. This would be a great stratagem for things like, I don't know, disruption, reconnaissance, even priority assets. But for Take and Hold, it's super bizarre, so I'm not liking it. And then lastly, we have our last stratagem, which is while their back's turned. At the end of your opponent's movement phase, one friendly unengaged boys, commando, storm boys unit that was engaged at the start of the phase, your unit can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. That's a very strong strat, because you get to see all of your opponent's movements, and then you can move into a position where suddenly now you're hidden from the enemy shooting. It's actually a very, very good stratagem. Hilariously enough, this detachment works really, really well in combination with the green tide, the previous detachment, and they both give you Take and Hold. So it's like, all right, if you're trying to run Take and Hold, you might see a combination here. It's not particularly my flavor, but I can start seeing the combinations of how I'm going to build a list. And then lastly, let's go through the Blitz Brigade, and then we'll close this video up with how we actually go through things, because I'm going to show you how my brain operates as I'm building ideas for a list now. Now we have the Blitz Brigade, Unstoppable Momentum. We get a friendly wagon unit gets to reroll charges. Very strong. Wagons will be your battle wagon, your gun wagon, your kill rig, and your hunter rig. Then, when a friendly wagon unit is selected to make an advance move, just change the advance roll to a 6, which means all of these models which move 10 inches base and they're massive, just basically always go 16 inches. And remember, in the WA, you get assault and the ability to advance charge. So these guys always move, effectively can always move 16 inches, will always be assaulting, and will always be charging, and they get to reroll charge rolls. Yeah, okay, I'm starting to like this. This is right off the rip. If I'm using transports, going to be a very, very good way for me to obtain my Take and Hold. Targeted gizmos, which is the upgrade for a wagon unit. While a big mech model is embarked within the unit's ranged attacks now have ignore cover, and if the unit is routed up, they get sustained hits. Now, the reality is this is basically only ever going to be useful on the gun wagon, which is totally fine because the gun wagon is a very, very good unit, and it hits on 4's base, it gets to reroll hit rolls of 1, and now when you use this enhancement on it, boom, suddenly it ignores cover and actually hits on 4's rerolling hit rolls of 1. Very interesting. Then we have another enhancement, which is also an upgrade, meaning it can be used on multiple wagons. We have the Boss Boomer upgrade. Wagon unit only. While a War Boss model is embarked within this unit has that War Boss's intimidating motivation / keep hunting ability. This is actually very cool because it means that if you have a War Boss inside of the transport, now that War Boss's ability to just put you in the wall can be utilized on the transport itself. Very, very strong. So you can just auto-wall yourself whenever you want. Then we got 3 stratagems. Keep it running. End of the fight phase. If your unengaged Orcs infantry unit that was eligible to fight this phase and is wholly within 6 inches of a friendly transport, that infantry unit is now able to embark within your transport. Now, there is no like caveat that's saying you can utilize this even if you disembarked, which makes it less useful, but I can still see some uses for the stratagem because now perhaps I might advance and charge Gaz out of a to go murder something, and then after Gaz murders the thing, I can hop him back inside of a wagon, which means now my opponent doesn't get to obliterate my Gaz, who is admittedly a little squishy now, although he's also kind of durable, so it's like it's weird. And then we have readied brawlers for 1 CP. After a normal move, you can disembark and still charge, which is actually very, very cool. It basically turns your battle wagons, your gun wagons, and your hunter / kill rigs into land raiders. And then for 1 CP on the last stratagem, your charge phase when a friendly wagon unit ends a charge move, that wagon unit, each enemy unit engaged with your unit, makes a battle shock roll with a -1 to that battle shock roll. Okay, very solid strat. All right, so when I'm looking at this list here, guys, Warhorde is a great choice for take and hold. Tactical Brigade and Green Tide, while I don't necessarily like the detachments, they do give you take and hold, and they do weirdly synergize very, very well. And then lastly, we have the Blitz Brigade, which when we go through all the detachment rule, the enhancements, and all of the stratagems available to it, seems like a very, very good option in order for us to get our take and hold. So if it's me, I could just say, cool, I'm going to go Warhorde and be done. But I'm not going to do that. It's a new edition. I'm running new lists. Then I can go. Now, Blitz Brigade is the most interesting of these 3 detachments, and I can see some really interesting synergies right off the rip. The Big Hunt, and now I'm talking a little bit more orcs. So the Big Hunt, what happens is you can give +1 AP to all snagga units when you're attacking monsters and vehicles. Well, my wagons can be kill rigs and hunter rigs, which means now I can get my take and hold from there, but I can give all my hunter rigs and my kill rigs +1 AP against monsters and vehicles. And that there's a stratagem in there that will give me access to a surge move. Okay, so now you're telling me that I can take my wagons. I can go 16 inches. In all reality, it'll be more like 18 to 19 inches because of how much movement you gain on the pivot. I get to re-roll charges, and if I fail that charge in your shooting phase, when you shoot me, I can even surge move it. So now we start coming up with some really, really cool combinations, right? So this is my process for how I decide where to start in the list building process. Now, there's a lot more details, right? What am I going to combine it with? What units am I going to always take in it? But this is where I start. I start with what disposition do I like the most? For me, it's take and hold. For you, it might be purge the foe. It might be priority assets. It might be reconnaissance. Super cool. Just figure out which detachments will give you the disposition you want, because this is the most important aspect of how you're going to build your list, because you have to build your list to score your primary and to deny your opponent's primary. Start there and then build off of that. If you start there, it's going to clarify a lot of things. Suddenly, you're not going to be like, oh, well, this unit's really cool in disruption, because you just be like, well, I'm not running disruption anyway. Done. Makes life easy. If you guys like this content, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends. And until next time, crump on. Bye-bye.